I went and I got to see Paul Simon in concert. He came through Nashville on his like last ever tour. And I was playing a show in Murfreesboro that night, which is like 40 minutes outside of Nashville. And I left. It was such a lame show. It was at this like comic book store and nobody was there. But they did pay me in these bills. And like $15 or something. And I drove 40 minutes for the show and I was like, why am I doing this to myself? But I was like, I have to leave early. I'm gonna go see Paul Simon. So I went, and then my legend of a friend, Quinn, texted me on the way while I was on my way there, and he said, are you coming to the concert tonight? I said, yes. And he said, these are your new seats. I said, great. And then I showed up and they like walked me all the way down to the floor, and I was like 4 rows from the stage, and had this like epic Paul Simon night. And then I was obviously very inspired by him, and then I started writing. This song is about being at that concert, and I had written a text to the guy that I loved at the time, who we were not together. And I knew he was there, and I was trying to be like poetic in my text to him. And I said, it felt like we were like 20,000 moths to a flame in there. And I remember like researching like what the capacity of that arena was in Nashville, and then like writing that text out to be like cool and like songwritery and poetic. And then I was like, actually that's like a really good line, so I wrote the song. I really like how this one started, actually. Sometimes I listen back and I'm like, wow, I really wish I like took my time more with some songs. As in like, sometimes my songs start slower and get faster. Not like the last song, but. Jacket, pants. Like, I like that first chord a lot. I don't do that. You can see it glimmering in there. The song, winking from below the depths. I'm clearly like soothing myself. Sometimes I write and I'm just... I probably was sad. It just felt good to sing it. There. That's all that there is of that one. Gotta perfect the ending now. I have to learn it. So then I worked on it for the next Guang. So I have a memo from the 21st, 22nd, this is of June, also in 2018. June 27th, I picked it up again, and it's called Moths Yawns. So I think I yawned in it, maybe, which I'm curious about. Maybe it's at the end. They both laugh as they sat in the shade, and the song used to hum like an omen. So the song's there. It's been a week and I found it at this point. Voice memos are so helpful for me to... It's such a great way to document what my brain does, because what I'll do is I'll start it and then put it down, and I know what I remember is usually what ends up in the song. I usually don't write stuff down or anything. Which is why a lot of like the early versions of it just kind of like slough away. I just like don't. If it was forgettable, it's forgotten. So yeah, that one's a little bite-sized one. That's that one. You have it?
Should we hear the demo?
Yeah, just a little. Just a taste, because it's so wonky.
This
But
is
it's
your
nice.
demo?
Yeah, this is my demo. I just threw it together. This is when I started to learn that I should do that so that we could work more efficiently.
Right.
I just did full 3-part. Oh.
3-part the whole way.
Yeah. Dancing. It's so fun when you just kind of throw something together. It has such a special... I have a little harpsichord. Okay, so this demo is the reason why we made the mistake of making... It was actually a perfect mistake because we made a version of the song and then came back and it sounded like a Sesame Street country children's song. If you play this one?
It's like the second version.
Yeah. So this part's sick. This stayed. So the benefit is we had these very like country forward, very like potato forward guitars that ended up staying. I did fix that though because it was too on the nose. Somewhere up above.
So the demo's down a key.
Yeah, so we lifted it.
Is that via vocals?
What do you mean? Yeah. I think also just for the continuity of the record. So there's something else.
Right.
Lifting it. But it go later.
On that one?
Yeah. So this is lower still, then it goes higher.
No, the demo was
The demo is lower. Got it. Yeah.
First version.
Got it.
And how strange they both thought as they sat in the shade of the sun.
Keyboard again.
It just kind of feels like Little Einsteins or something. Like there's something too. And it doesn't have those like nice stops there either. The keys are there though. So we ended up keeping the keys and keeping that electric was so nice with some part changes. Anyways, so I came back after like a week of not listening to it and was like, what have we done?
Yeah.
What a mistake. This is
Where you're like, Cal, why did you let me do this?
Like, how did we get so far into this idea? And then I remembered I had worked with, I just had a day in my little, like, we had like a home studio workspace that I was playing with my friend Becky Free on the drums, and kind of I was live arranging like with that band that I went on tour with, where we arranged International Man, and Clara Feenstra is on the bass, and I just was like, why don't we try like a little like disco, and just see what happens. And I had pulled up those voice memos and remembered that we had arranged it that way, and then we ended up with the final, which if you play that, that's when. And you have those nice, like, the way you, like, cut it with, like, omitting the snare for a second.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's, like, totally makes a song. And then I had an iced coffee one day, and I was in recording vocals, and I had heard it slosh around because I moved it into a different cup. And then we ended up including that. Give him some of that iced coffee.
I recall we did. There it is.
And I'm like playing it like very intentional. I'm playing it to the track.
Yeah. And then we ended up doubling it. This is two.
Yeah.
It's one on either side.
And so that's where
we
you
did
get
that
the
on a
like.
different day because we
Yeah.
both remember putting ice in a glass
Yeah.
and it matched the sound of the iced coffee.
So like an ode to that is the opening like pour sound was when I was at the very end. I was coming up with like the master. And like the order of tracks and the amount of spacing between each track when you listen to the record straight through. And I just like tore that sample off because you sent me
The individual
a file of me like just talking and swishing my iced coffee around. Yeah, me. This is me. Sippy hole. Closer. There it is. No, it's iconic. Absolutely memorialized that one iced coffee.
So good.
And then I want to look at the. Just listen. Can we listen to the keys? I think the keys are my favorite part of this whole thing. I'm really like a huge, very like turn of the century like romantic keys composers. Just like Chopin-y kind of stuff, like sitting under a tree in the grass,
And house.
feeling very like warm
There it is.
and romantic. And there's like a motif in the actual songwriting of the song that talks about like how strange as we sat in the shade of the song we used to hum like an omen. This kind of idea of being kind of like sheltered and held by this like warm, sad memory of a thing that's like gone. But it's like very, I don't know, it feels very like, it just feels like it did it. Like the keys part just like did it for the song.
Completed that picture you were trying to paint.
And it's on that Yamaha, which I just love.
Oh,
I was having so much fun writing that part. Can you do a quick scroll through and then see if there's anything else on it? Lots of nice like, we're just gonna run the instrumental
uh-huh.
with the bass and guitar. Electric guitars and the bass.
Uh-huh.
So that'll be the last thing we look at. I know we're over.
And the chorus.
Yeah. Joining.
Ah.
So nice. Just the way they kind of dance together. I realized, Cal, after I just went through like a whole Norah Jones period recently,
Oh yeah.
which she was like the first person that I loved. Like, I think I was like 10 listening to Norah Jones, like intently.
Oh yeah.
And she does a lot of that, like kind of in the first two records, the guy who produced it, the bass player, I can't remember his name.
Syncopated with the guitar.
Did a lot of like joining. I'll have to send you a song after this. Of I think it's. Will you indulge me for like 1 second? 1 second.
Pull it up here. I can play it.
I have it saved on a playlist. But once I heard it, I was like, oh duh! I learned this from Norah Jones. It's like a thing. It's like a technique I'm obsessed with. At least in this record, I was really, really into it. Here, it's in a playlist called Asshole. Those Sweet Words is the song.
Alright.
You're doing it the hard way here. No. Yeah, there it is. Let me skip through real quick. Oops, sorry. Just right in the intro with the keys and the guitar.
Ah.
See, everything
They're all
just kind of
doing
like,
it acoustic too.
and then
What did you say?
everything goes off and goes into
No,
but
I
So the whole song, it just does this like really beautiful like weaving back and forth, and I think that that's something I definitely brought into this song.
Nicely done.
Oh, Nora. I love her. Anyways. That's 20,000. We definitely broke 10 on that one.